Hello everyone, welcome to a new Star Tracker stream. We are super excited because today we have a very special guest, Jay Britton. How are you? He's a voice actor for Star Tracker. How you doing today?
I'm good. With fingers crossed, I won't pass out over the course of this call because I've just been drained of my blood like a vampire. But other than that, I'm doing all right. And on cue, the cat is immediately interested now that I'm talking.
Of course,
She's
my
gone now.
cats
It's
are
fine.
also watching. So yeah, it's you put the camera and they are immediately like, "What? I should join
Yeah.
you for sure."
Yeah, it's
So
my show now.
for those who are new, we are talking about voice acting today. We are talking about the Star Tracker and, well, specifically, what's the process that Jay follows when he's breathing life into a character. So, obviously, I need to ask this, Jay. So, how did the opportunity to be part of the Star Tracker crew come up?
Funnily enough, I had seen the game out there on Twitter before I was involved in any way, shape, or form, and I was immediately like, "Oh, that looks good. I like the look of that game." And I like the games that Raw Fury tends to work with as well. I was like, "Oh, that looks good. That looks like my cup of tea." And then I think probably about a month or so later, really great guy, Ross Stack, who I worked with. I think it's got to be at least 6 years ago on another space game,
Oh
Elite
wow!
Dangerous, funnily enough. We worked together doing a load of voice work on Elite, and he was my audio director, and I just got an email from him out the blue. We hadn't spoken in years, and he said, "Jay, hope you well. I've had this game come across my path, and we need an actor for this role. Would you mind giving me a read for Red Eddie?"
Yeah.
It's kind of urgent. We need to get the ball rolling and get this underway. Let me know if you can do it. Let me know if you can get an audition back. And I was like, yeah, no problem. Signed the NDA. And when it came back that it was Star Trucker, I was like, hi! That was the noise. That was the noise I made. That was the literal noise. So yeah, threw an audition in, and thankfully the developers liked it, and I became Red Eddie.
Nice. That's a really cool story.
Yeah.
I didn't have an idea that you actually work for you said a character in a space. So this question is going to be like kind of related because I wanted to ask you how did you prepare to put yourself in Red Eddie's shoes, but I know you have a lot of experience but I don't know if you have had the opportunity to like voice an actual tracker.
I have voiced a lot of different types of characters
Oh,
in my
really?
career today, and I have never voiced a trucker. This is my first
Nice.
ever trucker. Yeah,
Yeah.
evil goblin lords, a pile of corpses is one of my credits, but never
wow.
a trucker. Yeah, never
That's
a trucker.
interesting, yeah.
Yeah.
And how did you prepare for this specific role?
Mainly with a character like Red Eddie, and a game like Star Trucker, it's quite. Obviously, I don't want to spoil anything for people that are going to play it, but it's those that have played the demo already, which includes me. It's a really kind of laid back,
Yeah.
chill game. It has this moments of excitement, but it's very kind of relaxed. So any kind of characters that need to appear in the world have to fit into that tone. So the kind of first thing I look at is what's the world I'm playing in.
Yeah.
Is always the first question I ask, because Red Eddie in a Game of Thrones universe is really different to a Red Eddie that appears
Yeah.
in, I don't know, Final Fantasy, which is really different to the Red Eddie that appears in Star Trucker, so I usually kind of start off with tone. Okay, what's the tone of the game, and then from there, because we kind of had to get going and recording Red Eddie, I needed to find a hook into the character that kind of tells me everything I need to know about what this character is. And there was a line in the audition, I can't remember if it made it through to the game or not, because we recorded so much, but this is not a spoiler, because the line was something around, I think it was like he's kind of going, plans. I'm not really a plans kind of guy, and that like one sentence. Okay, right. I get what kind of what kind of guy this is. I've just spotted a cat. Where's mine? Come on.
No worries. Mine just, you know, it just got my table. I don't know why.
Mine's left in disgust at the fact I'm talking and being sensible.
No worries. We should rename these streams to like streams and cats, you know, so people.
The internet doesn't care about humans. They only care about cats. Yeah.
So they know trucks and cats. They know what to expect.
They know trucks and cats. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, so it's kind of a case of, okay, that line tells me who Red Eddie is.
Right.
Because you can kind of extrapolate, because a lot of the time is when you're voice acting, you don't, it's rare that I work on a game where you've actually got the time to do a really big deep dive into, okay, who is this character? What's their motivations? What do they want from life? You know, when did their parents die? Because everybody's got dead parents, because it's a very sad story in every other game. So it's really rare that you get a chance to do that. So, you know, I've been voice acting for, God, 15 years now.
Wow.
So it's a case of, okay, that's who Red Eddie is. And then it's just, I just draw on every other kind of character that fits that genre in films or animation or TV or video games. And you get to kind of find like Red Eddie, okay, you know, he's just kind of here. He's just relaxed. Because he's a young trucker compared to like some of the other characters that players will come across. You know, he's quite young, he's quite sprightly, he's still quite enthusiastic about trucking. So it's important that the voice reflects that and his personality reflects that, but he's not stressed about it. You know, he's nice and relaxed. He's very you know, laid back. And my would you like to know where I got the voice from for Red Eddie?
No.
So my Twitch chat will be aware of this character who I do on my Twitch streams, who is kind of a Mickey take of every dad that appears in a Disney show, and I call him Disney Dad, and he's kind of here, you know? Hey kids, you want to go to Disneyland and get a smoothie? You know, everything's just bright and happy and like over enthusiastic about everything, which is like then super close to like kind of anime style voiceover where everything's right up here. Oh no, my Pokemon, you know, it's kind of it's there. So I kind of took that because it's very kind of American and smooth, and just bring the enthusiasm down by about 90%. And then you kind of get Red Eddie, who's still got that kind of brightness and the happiness in his voice. You know, he's kind of, oh, cool, we're going to go get this cargo. Great, let's go. But there's none of that annoying shrillness to being an over-the-top Disney dad. But just that kind of that love for life and that just, I'm easy come, easy go. So that's kind of my process. Just find a hook for the character, sit them in the world, and then as we say, get it up on its legs, just start doing lines, and then you smooth it out as you go, and usually you end up looping back round to the beginning of a script, because about halfway through you're like, okay, the character is sat now and we can kind of go back to the beginning and redo it.
Perfect. No, that's a really, really cool process. I had no idea. And it makes a lot of sense to me, and I can't wait to hear more lines from Red Eddie, honestly. Now I'm curious. Actually, my next question, I wanted to ask you, what's your favorite Red Eddie moment? But maybe it's something related to plants. I don't know if that's the one, or you have another one. Like that, you know, that moment you were like, I really like this guy.
I think... Oh, it's really because I don't want to spoil anything.
No worries. Maybe
there's
not to go into much detail, just in case.
Yeah, there was one bit I really like because it's fun from like an acting perspective as well. Is I will put it like this: there's a part in the game where if you go the right kind of route through the dialogue, Eddie tells you a story.
Yeah.
I won't say what the story is, but he's it's like, oh, you're all sat around the camp, the metaphorical campfire, and he's telling you this story. Okay. And that I enjoyed as Eddie because, again, the story that he's telling and the way that he tells it kind of points to him being this kind of fun guy who's again very laid back, but he's always permanently got a smirk on his face, just a
Yeah.
little side eye. And he tells this story over the radio, and it's that was fun because I like, okay, here's this guy's personality coming out that he likes to play. But equally as well, that was fun because one of the things I always find fun to do with voice acting is trying to do a different character's voice doing a different voice, if that makes any sense at all.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
so like when if I'm teaching anybody that's coming into voice acting, I go, okay, it's great if you can do character voice X, okay, but can you sing as that character? Can you laugh as that character? Can you cry as that character? Because it's really easy to kind of go, okay, I'm going to be American, okay, but laugh as an American or cry as
Oh
an,
my God, yeah.
if you're going to do Red Eddie's voice, at some point they might be like, oh, okay, and now Red Eddie sings this song while he's driving. You'd feel like, well, I can't sing in this voice. Then
Yes.
it's kind of not good. So
Wow.
it's like, can you do that person's voice when they are doing a different voice? So what would this voice you've made sound like if they were telling a spooky story or a funny story, or
Yes.
if they were trying to do a bad impression? Because now you have to do an impression of somebody else doing an impression.
Yeah.
So that's why things like, Red Eddie telling this story in the way that he does it is kind of fun, because it's like, okay, I know what he sounds like, but now what would he sound like if he was doing this particular thing? So that's always good fun.
Wow. No, that's great, and actually, it's connected. I don't know how, but again, it's connected to my next question, because I wanted to maybe know, what are the challenges that you usually encounter when voicing a character. So I guess this might be one of them, like trying to, do different kind of voices and situations.
Yeah, usually the biggest problem is lack of time more than anything. So one of the things I always say about voice acting is, like, you have to be really emotionally agile, because Star Trek actually wasn't too bad, because we did record it fairly linearly. So like we started at A and we went to B and then we went to C and then we went to D.
Yeah.
But a lot of the time when you're doing games, especially some of the big RPGs that I've worked on, one scene you'll be really, really happy, and then in the next scene your entire family has been murdered, and there's no time for you to go, okay, can I just have a little break to
Yes.
stop being happy and then get into my headspace to be, the dreadful thing has happened. So you have to kind of, be able to switch that on the fly. So that's always a challenge. And with things like Red Eddie, we had a fairly sizable script that we needed to get through, and it had a certain amount of time that we could spend on it. So part of that, the biggest challenge is just getting into the character quickly, sitting in that character for 2-3 hours,
Yes.
and being consistent with it when you don't have time to go back. It's kind of something I've got more comfortable with in recent years, is if I've given what we usually do is we usually do 3 takes of every line.
Yes.
And then you've kind of got stuff to pick from there. But occasionally I will do 3 lines or 3 takes, and I'll be like, in my head, and as an actor you can just feel it, you're like, I don't like any of those.
Yeah.
And I used to just kind of let that go, but now I'm like, no, if this is going to go out and people are going to listen to it, I need to go,
Yes.
actually, hang on, can I just do one more? And then usually that one more is the perfect
Nice.
take.
Yes.
You kind of either get it right in the first take or the 4th take, and then nothing in the middle. So yeah, speed is usually a challenge. Context is another really difficult thing. Again, not too bad with Star Trekker, because I'm in a truck, and that's the context. Okay, great, I kind of know what's going on. But a lot of the time, you just get thrown into a scene, and you go, sorry, are we in the middle of a battle?
Yes, exactly.
Am I exhausted? Have I just finished running? How well do I know these people? Is there noise in the background? Am I cold? Like,
Exactly.
what's the scene?
Yeah.
And quite often you never get any of that information, and it makes it really, really hard to
Oh, really?
actually get the performance right. Yeah. A lot of the time it's just, here's the lines, go.
Oh, wow.
Because time is money.
Yes. Yes, but I guess I really like I feel you because I think it's really important to have the context. I don't know if someone, I mean, you have experience, but someone that maybe is new and don't have that context, I mean, how will that person be able, to uh, breathe life into a character without having like, those notions? I think that's really
Yeah.
challenging. So the fact that you are able to do that, I mean, it's amazing. But yeah, I agree. I think I didn't know that. I don't know. In my mind, all they will give you that information always, but I guess it's
Yeah.
not the case. Yeah.
It really, like, it varies a lot, and I think, a lot of the time when a game comes out and it maybe doesn't have that great of voice acting,
Yeah.
people immediately think it's the actor's fault. Like, that they must just be a bad actor. But I've done games where I'm not happy with my performance, but it's because I either, like, the game's come out and I've gone, oh, that's what was going on in that scene. I had no idea. Or you're working with an inexperienced director who has directed you to give a bad performance, and you're in the booth going, I know this is bad,
Yes.
but this is what I'm being directed to do. So good voice acting, I think it's really important that people understand that a good actor can get you a lot of the way there.
Yes.
But really, to get an absolutely stellar voice acting performance, it comes down to a good actor, a really good director in the booth, and a really good writing team.
Yes.
And thankfully, with Star Trekker and Ross, who obviously I've worked with, being directed by him before, he's a fantastic director.
Oh, that's great.
So in theory, hopefully you get something good out of the other end of it.
I'm pretty sure. I can wait, as I tell you before, that I will love to hear all your voices. Yeah, sorry, Kat. So I wanted to ask you, are there many differences between voicing like a video game character like Red Eddie and doing other types of voice acting? Like you have been in like a lot of things like maybe animation, TV commercials. I guess it changes a lot from one environment to other.
Yeah, massively.
Yes.
Games, especially now, maybe in the last 3 years or so, it depends on the genre of game, but in general, games have been moving to a much more cinematic style of performance. When I get auditions in for video games now, most of the time they're like, we want real, authentic,
Yes.
film-like performances. Animation has changed in its own way. They're still not as cinematic as video games because it's animation. It's always, heightened reality
Yes.
in animation. The performance styles have changed a lot there. They're not quite as wacky and zany. I mean, I grew up in the 80s with the likes of Pinky and the Brain and Killer Tomatoes and all that kind of stuff. I feel like cartoons have got slightly less zany there, maybe, but the animation style, again, is different in its own right from video games. And then I've done things like dubbing, which is all very, very cinematic and real. And then you go through to the corporate world, which nobody ever talks about with voice acting because it's not glamorous at all. But I'll be talking like this, but then very quickly I can go into my corporate voice, hello, and well, that's over the top, but that's its very own different. It's what we used to call as kids, put your telephone voice on, put your good voice on.
Yes.
Yeah. This new synergistic enterprise from JML consists of 3 parts. It's that kind of much more formal, static kind of sound. And the thing is, as well, what I find fascinating is commercials actually have a lot of transferable skills to other genres of voice work. Because the one thing you learn really quickly when you're doing commercials is how to break down a script really quickly to figure out what the key parts of that script are. Because commercials always have, they're always the same form.
Oh. Are you there?
The solution to this problem. And you start to spot, okay, so how can I emphasize this emotion that they want to get across to people about this product? How can I have an impact on this bit of the script where we're moving from one section to the other?
Yes.
So all of those things about getting emotion into a very tight amount of space in terms of words and very quickly looking at the script and going, okay, right, I know what we're trying to say here, is a really useful skill when you then go into the booth to do video games, because yeah, you can very quickly look at the script, even though it's a video game, and be like, okay, I get what you're trying to get, what you're trying to get at. Yeah.
Thank you, Jay. Sorry, because we were like frozen for a moment. Sorry, guys, about that. But I think we came back. So, but we could hear like your full discourse, I believe. So, but yeah, thank you, Jay. Let's go with the next one. Obviously, what or who inspired you to become a voice actor? Like, when did that moment come when you said, okay, this is what I want to do?
Yeah, I went really I went on a stupid route around it though. Like I said, you know, I grew up in the 80s. American cartoons were a huge influence on me. Things like Pinky and the Brain, Biker Mice from Mars, Killer Tomatoes, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Huge influence on me. The real kind of I get defining moment where I was like, oh, I'd really like to do this, was watching Aladdin, and Robin Williams' performance as the genie in Aladdin was such a, it was the first time I watched something, and people that watch my Twitch will know this, like that kind of just off the wall, the way he bounces around and goes through 5 different characters in the space of a minute, like that's what it's like inside my head most of the time. So I was watching this character in Aladdin and just being like, that's what the inside of my head is like. Okay, I'm not the only one. This is really cool. And then, you know, things like The Simpsons was a big part of my childhood as well, and looking into who the actors were for The Simpsons and the fact they all did, you know, multiple voices and characters. And then I sort of had this dream of living in Los Angeles and recording for The Simpsons and driving my convertible down to the beach. And then I hit about 17 or 18 and went, I guess I should probably get a normal job instead. So I went and worked in IT for 13 years. Yeah, I don't know why I did that, because that's what I thought you should do, right? As we all thought we should. Oh, go and get a sensible job. You can't be an actor. You need a reliable income. So I went off and did IT for 13 odd years, and then unsurprisingly, I was incredibly miserable after 13 years, and I was like, I kept doing creative stuff in the background. I was in a musical theater company, and I kind of did other bits and pieces, but I hit a point and I was just like, yeah, okay, I need to give this voice acting thing a go. So I got a studio built in my back garden, and then funnily enough, and this was kind of the tipping point, the day the studio in the garden was finished, because I'd kind of been building up, you know, the work part-time. The day the studio was finished, I also got made redundant from my IT job. And I literally the same day, and I was like, well, that feels like a sign. So I just put my foot down as fast as I could going into VO. And however many years later now, I'm still going. So touch wood, it will keep going. But yeah, that was the moment I dove in head first, because I didn't really have another choice. I could have got another IT job, but I thought, no, this is too coincidental. Let's do it. It's now or never.
That was a good sign. Like, well, I think you made the right decision, and we can tell, because as soon as I called you before, I was like, what a voice. So yeah, of course you're doing what you are meant to do, so no worries. And you do really great. So let's finish, if you don't mind, with with some recommendations maybe for or maybe qualifications for aspiring voice actors. I don't know, any courses, training, whatever you think it's what would you recommend to people?
So I could talk about this for hours and hours and hours, because there's so much bad information out there about getting started as a voice actor. And I've been coaching new voice actors for about 6 years now, because I got annoyed that there was so much duff information out there. In general, my biggest tip is, and a lot of drama teachers tend to say this, which is, if you can do anything else, cook, use computers, write, be an accountant, and enjoy it, do that instead. Because, and that sounds counterintuitive, but what I'm saying is you have to really, really love voice acting, because it's not a stable income.
Yes.
It's really hard work. You know, you're constantly hustling and trying to gather up work and get work. So you have to really, really, really love it, because you will want to quit all the time. I often want to quit. Like, even last year, I was like, oh, do you know, maybe it's time. I'm tired. But then an hour later, I'm like, no, the passion is still there, and I have to keep going.
Yes.
So you have to love it. Like, it's not working on oil rigs hard. I'm not trying to say that we're soldiers going off to war, but psychologically, you know, going up for auditions and getting rejected and constantly having to put yourself out there does take a toll. So you have to love it. Assuming that you love it, don't go and get a demo reel made. What everybody does is they run out. The first thing they do is go, I'll go and get a demo reel made so I can start getting some work. And the number one thing I then have to break down to people who come to me for coaching is, you don't know what you're selling yet. You have no idea what should be on your demo reel. You don't know if you're the funny guy, the guy next door, the voice of authority, the older wise guy, the young hip guy. So what are you going to put on a commercial demo or a corporate demo? You know, are you going to get booked by Rolex or Burger King? Because these are two different voice actors. It's not the same voice actor. So how are you going to pitch yourself in the industry? If you're looking to go into games, are you like, so for example, when I get booked for games, I tend to do a lot of different voices because that's my skill set. You want a guy who can do 15 different accents? Great, pull me in. I'll do, like, I think my record at the moment on one Divinity Original Sin 2, I did 37 characters.
Oh, wow.
That's my skill set. My partner, who is the narrator of Baldur's Gate 3, Amelia Tyler, if you want a absolutely pinpoint cinematic performance, that's her skill set. And yet, obviously there's crossover between the two of us, but you have to know how to pitch yourself. Like, she won't ever go in somewhere and go, hi, I'll do 30 voices for you. So it's no good going and getting a demo reel done that shows off all these different voices you can do if that's not really what you're going to get booked for. It's no good having a commercial reel that has companies on it that you would never get booked for in the real world. So the first thing I always say is training. Take the time. A one-on-one coach is by far the best. Like, you know, finances are always a thing, but one-on-one coaching is the best by far. If not that, then group classes. If not that, then doing amateur dramatics and reading every day. You just have to go through it for long enough to go, okay, I know who I am. I know what I'm selling. I would say train in commercials first because of those transferable skills I mentioned earlier. That wasn't intentional. That has just linked back. So because of that, train in commercials first. And by going through loads and loads of commercial scripts, you very quickly learn, oh, I am not the voice of luxury. I am not the voice of the youth, you know? The youth. Can you tell I'm turning 40 next year because I just referred to it as the youth? Yeah, so doing that, you very quickly learn. Yeah.
This is the safest space.
I'm so old. So yeah, you very quickly learn, like, what are you likely to book? What are you really good at? What can you absolutely nail? Because voice acting is so unbelievably competitive, and it's only got harder and harder and harder in the last 5 years with the internet arriving and everybody and their uncle getting a laptop and a USB microphone and kind of putting themselves up for jobs. So you got to be laser focused on what you are great at and sell that. So
wow.
So love it, train, learn to know what you're good at, laser focus on that, then get demo reels done that suit all the things you know that you're likely to book. And then it's the same as anything else. You start reaching out to clients, you try and build a portfolio, you do direct marketing. I would say don't worry about an agent yet. An agent is something you don't need until you are at least a few years in, really. That's a popular misnomer. People are like, oh, as soon as I get an agent, that's it. The phone will just ring all the time and you'll be working constantly. No. You're far better off putting the effort into training and building your own kind of customer base. Ugh, which sounds dreadfully corporate. Your own people that you work with. And then when you've got a nice portfolio, you know, go out to an agent and go, hey, here's what I can do. But yeah, that's kind of my however many steps that was process.
Wow.
And don't believe anybody that just wants to sell you a bunch of courses and tells you that you're great and that you can do everything. Never trust that, ever.
Yeah. So thank you so much. That's really, really good advice. Actually, someone was posting on the Steam, you know, chat and saying the same thing. And thank you for this summary, because I know it's difficult to like actually list everything, you know, you need to do when you're trying to be a voice actor. But I think it's really good advice for everyone watching the stream. So thank you, Jay. If you are curious, we have some people in the chat, and they were like just commenting about, for example, I hope there's a radio channel with you chatting 24 hours because I can tell people, you know, love your voice.
Get help. You don't want, that's a terrible idea. You don't want, trust me, 15 more minutes of this and you'll be bored. You'll be just turn him off. Trust me. It's terrible. Get help. Yeah.
And some other people was saying that you were listing all their favorite characters, so it makes sense that they were like your biggest inspiration when you wanted to, you know, you decided to become a voice actor. And yeah, I just wanted to say like thank you so much for being there, guys. Like there are a lot of you, like Brian Bond, Sales, Andre, Steiner, Manejos. Thank you so much for being there. And thank you, Jay, because it was a really, really great conversation. I really enjoyed it. I learned a lot about voice acting, and I can't wait to hear, you know, Red Eddie's voice in Star Tracker. So thank you so much.
That's all right. My absolute pleasure. I'm going to be playing the demo in a little bit as well, so I'm
Nice.
excited to kind of dive in. Yeah.
That's right, guys. You can now jump, you know, to Jay's channel when we finish here, so you can watch him playing the demo. And yeah, remember the demo is now available for everyone in the Steam page. You just have to download it and become a tracker yourself. So thank you again for being there. Let's hope we can repeat this in the future. I'll be like really happy. And again, thank you, Jay, for everything, and see you soon, hopefully.
Pleasure.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.